This PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after the show.
Don't drink the Foster. We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, my name is Peter.
Yeah, I want.
Here's good.
Yeah.
Madam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on.
He likes it.
It's showtime.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorce dad, single dad, divorce dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
That's right, Wednesday. We made it, folks. We made it. You made it, I made it, and many more have made it, and I'm grateful for that. It's Wednesday. And you know what that means every Wednesday. Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show right here. Every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. on the East Coast. And on demand after the show's over. But for those of you who are going to be tuning in and watching, thank you. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. I know there's a lot of things you could be doing with your time, and sharing it with me is much appreciated, and I'm grateful for it. But I want to ask you one favor, because we've been having a talk. You know, my YouTube, I never used to really care about YouTube. Used to throw the shows up on there back in the early days as a storage bin. But now it's kind of getting important. And then they started punishing us when I started going live on YouTube. Had a couple of shows that they didn't agree with here and there through the year, and then they banned me a couple of times. You know you're good when they're kicking your ass. But the thing is, they throttle me down too. They start screwing with you. And I need you. I know there's lots of you that watch on Facebook. I know there are Facebook, LinkedIn, and the other couple of platforms that when we're live. But would you do me a favor? Just go to YouTube and hit the subscribe button, for God's sake. Just do it. It's free. I just need to start pushing to say, hey, people are paying attention. You need to leave this guy alone. The more we do over there, I'm hoping it's going to let them open up the floods, because they are holding me back. I'm not, they know what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose. But the thing is, if, we the people, let the people speak, demand equals supply. They're not stupid either. They'll put me out there if they feel there's a demand for it. But, otherwise they're squishing the small guy. And I don't dig that, but, this is the life we're living in, but I don't give up. So please, just do me a favor. Just run over to YouTube real quick. Or I think on the bottom of your screen, on the bottom right hand, I think there should be a little YouTube, little red square. I think even if you click on that, from what they tell me, that you can go straight to it and it subscribes you. Please. That's all I'm asking for the holidays. It is the holidays coming up. Speaking of holidays, coming up in just a few minutes, part of my Getting Through the Holidays series, which I'm starting to do now from now until the end of the year. I have on this show, that's right, folks, Victoriakirilloff from Divorceanalytics. We're going to talk about some things about helping people get through the holidays. She's an expert on divorce and helping people handle divorces. All right. She's going to talk to us on how she helps people, guide people, to make better decisions. All right. Because let's face it, emotions run high, and irrational judgment clouds everybody's mind during that time. Believe me, I know. She knows. And we're going to talk about it. And especially now there's the holidays, it always amplifies things. It amplifies the love. It amplifies the hate. It amplifies the good, the bad. You just kind of let your head sink into it. So she's going to be on in just a couple of short minutes. And we're going to get into it as part of the Getting Through the Holidays, which I really think I enjoy it, because I feel it's helping people understand that you're not alone, no matter what your problems are. And I'm here to talk about it and share stories, and hopefully it'll help you out to make you feel a little better, even when times are tough. And there are a lot of tough times. So just in a couple of minutes, all right? while I keep moving on, as always, I want to prep you for next week because you got to start planning ahead. I always like to plan ahead. I do. Doesn't always work out, but I like to plan ahead, so at least I say, well, I tried, and trying is good. But next week, Wednesday, November 23rd, Thanksgiving Eve. So let's all get together for Thanksgiving Eve. Come on, family, love. Some more of my Getting Through the Holidays. I'm going to have Jason on. Jason's your average guy, all right? Jason's going to be on the show, and who's Jason? He's just a guy who's going through some hard times. He's a regular guy in a regular town, and I found him because I saw him going through some ups and downs, and I looked him up, and I called him and personally, and he answered, and we talked, and he said he agrees to come on and talk about his current situation. He's going through some relationship issues, and it's killing him, as it does many people. And we're going to talk about it. So that's going to be awesome. I think, nobody wants to go through unpleasant times. So we're going to talk about it. That's Wednesday, November 23rd, Thanksgiving Eve, right here on the Peter G Show. Getting Through the Holidays, some more Getting Through the Holidays with Jason, regular guy from a regular town going through some not so great, problems in his life. And we're going to help, we're going to hear about it and let some steam off the pressure cooker and let people realize, wow, that sounds just like me. We'll all get through this together. All right. You won't want to miss that. Podcasts. I love you for watching the show, but the podcasts do really good. I really want you to go, please subscribe to YouTube and hit the subscribe button for free. It doesn't cost you anything, but the podcasts are going great. People love putting an earbud in their ear. They're listening to the Peter G Show in the car while they're at work. It's worthy. I love when you watch. I think sometimes you miss a few things that visually, but hey, podcast, next best thing to be in there. Just Google Peter G Show podcast. You can pick from the many platforms, from iTunes podcast to Spotify to Amazon podcast, all the above. There's a bunch of them. Just go there. Check out all your favorite shows. There's almost 300 of them. And I promise you there's something for everybody. That's a fact. So anyway, Victoria's going to be on in just a couple of minutes. All I want to do right now is I need to take a quick break and give you a word from my Clean Star Products sponsor, and we'll be right back, all right?
Let us help you with the high price of fuel. Hello, I'm Ty Thompson at CleanStarProducts.com. We can optimize your engine, saving you money and gas. Here's how. Our program works the same with gasoline and diesel engines. Whether you're using a car pack or SUV pack, the instructions are the same. Add 1 bottle to your engine oil, and each time you change your oil, add 1 bottle to the fuel tank each and every fuel fill-up. It's that easy. You get 10% fuel economy on average, lower emissions, and increased horsepower. DX1 sells for $2 an ounce, so for just a few dollars a fuel tank, you can optimize your engine, saving you money and gas. Come on, give it a try. It's the finest green grade oil in the world from a California environmental company. You're going to feel it when you drive. Order online today. We'll get it out right away. CleanStarProducts.com/shop.
That's right, folks. Clean Star Products. Go to them. Look. It's a little bitty bottle. Look at the size of this bottle. Goes in your crankcase, all right? Look at it. Fits in the palm of my hand. So either it's a little bitty bottle or I have a really big hand. There it is. Takes a minute. There's a delay. It's a little bottle. But let's face it, folks. It's simple to do. You just put it in your crankcase at a fresh oil change, and that's it. Cars are expensive. Don't even get me started on how much gas is, okay? Especially if you live in California. Super expensive. People are keeping their cars longer. I keep my cars longer. True story. It's like they're not an investment. Take care of your cars. Kind of like taking care of yourself. It's a small investment to make. And if you use this product, it gets you up to 10% of better fuel economy, okay? Especially with the way we're going. but when you put it in the crankcase, you're getting more lubricity. It makes things smoother, less friction, makes the car go easier without having to struggle so much. Makes common sense, all right? Anyway, if you want to learn more about Clean Start products, go to www.cleanstartproducts.com. Talk to them. They'll speak with you if you want more information. And most of all, this little doozy is made right here in the good old USA, not in China. Okay? USA, California. If it can meet California standards, believe me, it can meet any standard. They are picky. Anyway, I'd do that if I were you. Tell them the Peter G Show sent you. That's right. Okay, as promised, coming up right now. She's in California. We found her. She followed the show. And we looked her up and said, hey, thank you for following the show. Maybe we should talk to you. And she said, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I want to introduce my friend and friend to the show, and hopefully she's going to be a friend of yours and with great information. And again, knowledge is power. But right here on this show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Kirilloff, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you making yourself available for the show, because this is important to me, especially around the holidays, talking about this kind of stuff. And as I spoke to you, earlier, that you have a lot of experience, personal experience, as I think that's what it takes to really understand what you're going through. And we're just sharing stories, plus some of your business sense from now that you're working with people who are going through divorces and things like that. And I think that's really important, because I didn't know a damn thing. I mean, I knew a ton of people who went through divorces, but until you're doing it yourself, if you have no experience, it's a mind screw.
It certainly is. And it's an interesting situation, because you enter the marriage as it's an emotional situation. And then the divorce is completely a financial transaction, but it's really complicated by the fact that you used to love this person and you have a shared life with them, and you have to some way find a path forward that's going to be of least resistance, so you can preserve the relationship, but also the resources.
Or can you? Again. Well, I mean, look, I'm going to play devil's advocate on all this, because although you want to help them find the positive side, normally everybody has to go bang their heads first until they realize how much it hurts before they start seeking the alternative. I mean, there's a few amicable divorces, I believe, but I don't think that there's many, not nearly as many, that go down and burn down to the ground, knock down dragouts. What about you?
Well, I can tell you about my personal experience. And so I actually had to divorce a narcissist, and it was a very complicated situation because, when you're dealing with somebody that's emotionally manipulative, you have to find a way to become unreactive. And for me, I understood that the financial facts, that was going to be the most important bargaining tool that I had. And so I had to learn how to not respond to the word salad and the wonderful things he would be saying to me, and focus on my future life, because it's very easy to get sucked down in the mud and to focus on hurting the other person because they've hurt you so badly. But I just went back to what my dad would always tell me was, if it cannot be expressed in numbers, it cannot be expressed at all. So when I was facing my own situation, I had a 10-year relationship that I had to get out of because it was fairly abusive. And I realized that the only way for me to do that was focusing on my future and understanding the facts and the variables that were going to be able to open that door for me.
All right. We're going to back it up, because there's one more thing I want to ask you before we get into this. And then I'm going to start asking you a lot of personal questions, because we lead by example here. And then we'll go into the business aspect of it. But you started this business, this divorce analytics, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I want you to tell everybody first about the business end of it, who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing it, where you're located. Do you work with people afar, abroad, or is it a face-to-face one-on-one thing? Just a quick synopsis, and then we're going to get right back into your marriage and all that, because I got questions. Okay.
Okay. I better be prepared.
Yes.
Well, my name is Victoriakirilloff. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst and founder of divorceanalytics.com. We really help people focus on preserving relationships and resources as they navigate the divorce process. While we are based in Santa Monica, I help people across the entire United States. Finance is the same, doesn't stop at state lines. And so we really help people move past the fear and replace it with facts.
Good job.
Oh, thank you.
It's okay. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just thought you were done. Is there something else you wanted to add to that?
Oh, we can continue. I'm sure
Okay.
we'll get to it.
Oh, I'm sure we will, because I'm telling you, I'm already. what I want to ask you with, okay, so did this business start prior to you going through your divorce, or did you start it afterwards?
It started afterwards.
Aha. Me too.
Yes, it's, as you said, life experience is the best teacher. And when you're looking for a guide, you need to have someone that actually has been through this, because heck, divorce has so many high level emotions that are running through. It's very easy to get derailed. And if you're working with a divorce team that places fear over facts, you can get derailed and spend a lot of unnecessary dollars. So my goal is to prevent people from doing that.
When you say divorce team, you mean lawyers?
You hit the nail on the head there, Peter.
Lawyers, you can go broke. I mean, depending on the lawyer, I've seen some that they just work it. They know how to work it until the money goes dry, and then they go, okay, we need to just wrap this up. I'm not saying all lawyers. I know a lot of great ones too, but it's manipulative.
It is, and divorce is really a 4-step transaction. You have the emotional, the social, the legal, and the financial. Ideally, the legal should be the least resistance, because the meat of it is in the financial stage, where you have to outline what's separate, what's marital, and your divorce settlement packages. And if you're able to use alternative dispute resolution tactics like mediation and collaborative divorce, you can save yourself a lot of money, but more importantly, heartache.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, it's easier said than done. And again, for most people who have never been divorced, first time married, it's a mind blower, because I can honestly say, if I had to do it again, which I pray to God I never ever have to do, but it happens. I've met people married and divorced 4 times, but you definitely know a lot more now after you've gone through all that hell. You will not make a lot of the same mistakes that you did in the divorce process, not necessarily about relationships. You could be just really bad at relationships. That's true, right?
So true.
Yeah, but the thing is, on how you handle the divorce process, I know that I would be better at it this time, because I'll never go down that road again the way we went down. I mean, I kind of got led down that road, but
Yes.
because I just had to keep showing up because I kept getting called in for nothing. But the thing was, I just know that a lot of people, it's a mind blower. You can drink yourself under the table from the havoc. And next week I'm going to talk to a boy that and that's what's going on with him, because it's driving him. It's not pleasant.
Oh no.
So I mean, okay, so but there's a lot of businesses I've noticed nowadays. There's tons of businesses that are like, divorcing well, or, skating through divorce coaches, this and that. And people don't have a whole lot of money. But then again, when they end up at the end of the divorce, finding out how much they spent, it's probably, if you know little things like this to help nip it in the butt, to not spend so much, because somebody's like, it's almost like a psychiatrist, like somebody's talking you, into talking you down, like, calm down. This is not going to work. So how do people, how do people end up finding you and going, I want to invest in you to help me get through this?
Well, I help people a lot with high level financial problems. And so most of the time, people find me either through referrals or social media or Google. And I really take my business seriously because divorce is not the end game. You have an entire life after the divorce is over. And it is so easy to get sucked down and to think, well, if I spend a little bit more money on my attorney, I'm going to get a better outcome. And that might be true in some cases, but for the most part, you have all of the skills within you. You just need to access them and have the divorce team kind of show you the path forward. And keep in mind, a lot of this is dependent upon your spouse. And if they have any personality issues, that becomes a problem. And you need to kind of understand how to talk terms with them. And I've been across the table from many narcissists. And the one thing at the end of the day that really motivates them is financial stability. So if you're able to lead with that and understand exactly how you can shape the divorce roadmap, you'll be able to complete a divorce with a high conflict personality sooner than later.
Okay. But again, when emotions are high and tempers flare, and on top of that, you have somebody who's motivated, they're after your money or this and that. I mean, it's still very difficult, and you freak out. You're calling your lawyer every 20 minutes, and believe me, they may sound like they're listening to you, but they're writing it down, and all of a sudden at the end of the month, you're getting thousands of dollars of a bill because you're complaining, oh, he just called me and did this, or she just did this and that. So it's, again, that easier said than done. And it's great if if you have money and I can call you and saying, I want to protect my money, but is all that, are you helping them protect what they've got, or I don't, how's
It's
that
a
work?
little, well, at the end of the day, you have to understand that if you were married and you if the assets grew during that time period, probably it's going to get divided right down the middle. But what you can really understand and how, well, moving forward, you need to know how to put together different ideas that are going to speak to that person, to your spouse. And so when you're able to really focus on your future and not get bogged down, that's where you have the most success. And so I practice heart rate variability training, and I encourage my clients to do that as well. But that is learning to control your parasympathetic nervous system. And so when we're in a divorce, you're in that fight or flight or freeze stage. And what you need is actually somebody to come pour a bucket of cold water on top of you. And that's what heart rate variability training does. And that's just a really fancy way of saying learning to control your breath.
Yeah,
And,
calm down.
calm down. And when you're in these high conflict situations, more oftentimes than not, you'll actually stop breathing. Well, our biology says a tiger's on your tail, and it's not, there is no scale of, oh, this is a small conflict. No, our body goes straight to, this is an existential crisis. And so your body then goes throughout its, defense mechanisms. So if you're able to control your heart rate through your breath, you're able to stay present and not pick up the phone to call your attorney, because you understand that while this person is saying things that are exciting me, not reacting is my best situation and solution. So heart rate variability training and a good old exercise routine.
Victoria, can I tell you a little something?
Please do.
When you're in court in front of everybody, and there's all these people sitting behind you listening as your dirty laundry is getting aired out, you want to be calm and cool and collected like it's no big deal, but it's literally in your head, kill or be killed. I mean, it's easier said than done. I had to keep reminding myself to just shut the hell up and calm down, because you get so riled up, you're sweating, because it's just like, it's not a naturally good environment. You're in friggin' court. So what do you do?
Well, you just got to practice that heart rate variability training. That Calm app, that'll help. But you also have to keep in mind that this is not the end of your life. It might feel like it, but having a key word to say over and over in your mind, that's going to help you. So when I was going throughout my divorce, I was really terrified as to how I was going to be able to, continue living my lifestyle and building my business. And so I decided on the term education. So every single time that I wanted to think about Voldemort, I thought education instead. And it was really hard because Voldemort was in my mind. You don't, be married to somebody for 10 years and then cut those feelings off. But I learned that by focusing on my future and keeping education top of my mind, that was the best antidote. And he could say whatever he wanted. But I knew I had my eye on the prize, and the more I could focus on building that bridge to an education that was going to be able to provide for me in ways that he never could, that was a much better use of my resources and focusing on that future instead of the past.
I've played music most of my life, okay, as a musician. The way we got smooth was by rehearsing, okay?
Yeah.
The more you rehearsed, and played out live. To me, I rehearsed, but I didn't get really smooth until we were doing live action, real life situations. Unfortunately, the more you go into divorce court, the better you'll get at it. But the thing is, it's rough, and do people come to you after they've done a lot of damage, or do they figure it out beforehand and start fresh with you right at the beginning of divorce? I would think they come after you once they're like finally hitting the wall and going, I don't know what to do, I need advice.
A little bit of both. I have a lot of clients that come for pre-planning services where they are thinking about a divorce, but they're not quite sure how the finances would be impacted. So I put together a divorce impact analysis report. And that kind of helps them understand.
I'm not laughing at you. It's just premeditated. I think I'm going to get divorced. I think I should plan out my, I wish it was.
Yeah.
It's not that simple.
And actually, those divorces have had great success because all of the reports are documented. And so the other spouse can go through the report. I make myself available, and we're able to understand all of the key components. So even though this is a scary situation, as soon as you have financial stability, a lot of that negativity goes away. A lot of the high conflict personality, there's still going to be high conflict, but they feel like they've won because they have financial security. So figuring out how to create essentially a roadmap where each person wins, that's your best bet. So pre-planning kind of enables you to do that before the ball gets rolling, because once the ball gets rolling, and let's say you choose litigating attorneys instead of a mediator, well, a litigator, guess what? Those guys are literally trained to fight. They don't really have conflict resolution training like a mediator would. So instead, when you go down that route, you're just gearing up for a fight. So I work with people that are in the process of court and they need some financial clarifications, and I put together a divorce financial analysis report for them. And we're able to hopefully expedite the divorce so they don't languish in court for God knows how many years, because that's really expensive. Yeah. So, I mean, it feels good to, make jabs at the other person and to fight back. But when you look at how it impacts your bottom line, there are so many better things that you could be doing with your time and your money. But if there's kids involved, that ends up being the biggest loser. And so when you focus on the financial facts, you focus on, the kids' budget, who's going to pay for college, who's going to pay for the car, all of these other things. When you figure that out as you're going through the divorce, it cuts down on the conflict after the divorce professionals are over. And
you just nailed it on the head. I was getting ready to ask you about it's got to be a lot more complicated when children are involved as opposed to two people who just want a divorce, correct?
Yes and no.
Really?
Well, when you have people that are like doing gray divorce, so divorces over 55, A lot of times there's a substantial amount of assets that people want to fight over. And if there's young children involved, I've noticed parents are more apt to not want to destroy each other in front of the kids. I mean, it can go either way, right? But sometimes the kids are a very good reminder that, hey, we're going to be in each other's lives after this is over. So let's not destroy our family.
I don't think they intentionally mean to, but the anger and animosity, because if you have two people, and if you have two people that are wanting to divorce, then it's mutual. And I think that I've seen it go to where, like, look, we both wanted the divorce. It's a lot more amicable. We're just going to do this, and we're going to do it a lot more sensibly. But however, if you got one person, you know, has been driving and one person's trying to stay married, and then it's like, well, screw you, I'm going to take you for everything you've got, or they finally get some financial stability and they couldn't wait to leave because now they don't depend on somebody else. There's all these different variables. So there's where the anger starts. It's like, because you just finally got what you wanted and now you're screwing me over and now you want to leave me. Did you ever love me? I mean, all these situations. Then you got the kids. It's like, now you want to rip the kids in half. They're my kids. No, they're my kids. You'll never see them again. All of this crap. I've heard it all.
Oh, yeah. Well, unfortunately, dads are the most punished by the family court system. So, you know, I always encourage my clients to learn their different divorce options. You know, there's mediation, collaborative, and litigation. Litigation is, you know, a last resort. But if you can focus on mediation or collaborative divorce, that really helps protect the family unit. And you're able to pull in different divorce professionals like a divorce coach or a child specialist that can talk the other person down. Sometimes people don't want to pay for it, but then when you consider if mediation or collaborative fails, you're going to be headed into court, and God knows how much that will cost. So that's a huge financial unknown. So bringing divorce coach or a child specialist on board to help with some of those issues can really be a great cost saver.
Victoria, the word if is such a huge word. If we can do this, if we can't, chances are it doesn't happen. I mean, I'm happy for the ones that it does, but this is just a PSA, people. Children need both their mother and their father for balance. Now, unless one or the other is a piece of crap, that's an exception to the rule, because there's good and bad women and there's good and bad men. But children, you owe it, no matter what you're going through, you owe it to have balance, because they are loved by both parents. And those children need to be loved and nurtured and brought up with some balance, even when you're splitting up, because then they're in a hell of a mess going, where are they going? You know, where am I going? Just so you know.
Well, I always like to say, children do not divorce their parents.
Right. Well, they don't, and they're caught in the middle. They don't have a choice. It sucks. A lot of them fare well, but I've seen some that have really gotten beat up by the whole situation and really hit the bricks hard. And it's a point of no return. The scarring just ruins them for a good portion of their life, because they're not strong enough to get through it. They carry that through, and they become adults that are messed up. It's a fact, and it sucks. And that's why we're here sharing stories, experiences, and have people like you on here to do that. I want to ask you real quick about you now, because you speak a lot about narcissism as well, because I guess you experienced it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Okay. But here's I want to start from the beginning. You dated this man, because I'm guilty of it too. You know, you tend to see the good inside somebody, but you dated this man. How long did you date before you got married? And please don't tell me a month.
Oh no, we were together for quite a while. And, you know, I had rosy glasses on, and so I didn't quite see that the flags are red. I just thought they were, you know, shades of pink, and we should move forward. So there were certain issues that I identified, but I didn't quite understand the psychology makeup that he possessed. And, you know, I was in my 20s. So, you know, what 20-year-old understands the dark triad, right? Not many of them. So there was a lot of learning that was going on. And I made so many excuses for his bad behavior that by the time we were deep into our relationship, I really had to pull my head out of the sand and do a lot of deep diving. And I went on YouTube all the time. I was watching Dr. Romani. She talks about narcissism. She's a great resource, and learning how to divorce someone like that. And so I was just, for years, I was just building my psychological tool chest, because I understood, even though my relationship was very abusive, I knew that I was the best person to deal with him. And I knew if we brought attorneys into the equation, he was going to go haywire, and he was going to really go after money that wasn't his. And I didn't want that. So I focused on building my tool chest. And then when the time came for us to actually pull the trigger, I created my first divorce financial analysis report. And my dad taught me that.
Yeah.
If you ever have a problem, understand the financial variables, because then you can truly control the outcome. So that's exactly what I did. I went through our marital finances, and I figured out what was his, what was mine, how much money we were spending. Because gosh, nobody actually does that. No one actually knows how much their lifestyle costs. And that was one of my biggest fears. How am I going to be able to afford the house, my car, my education, all of these things? And I had no idea until I put pen to paper. But as I was going through our bank statements, oh my God, it was so enlightening, because I actually understood the extent of his alcoholism. And so if I didn't actually see on the bank statement how many times he was going to the bar at, when he said he was going to work late, I would probably still have my head in the sand. So the finances really helped me move from a place of paralyzation into empowerment. So when I did sit down with him, I had my divorce report ready, and he was an engineer. I understand how engineers think and how their mind needs to be satiated in order to get an objective completed. And we just went through the report, and it was honestly the easiest conversation we had, because he understood there was going to be financial stability for him. He understood that how the house was going to be divided and sold. I didn't want to do that, but in my situation, it was the right move to make. I didn't need to have a huge property that was going to have, thousands of dollars of gardening bills a month when I needed to be focusing on rebuilding my life. So understanding the financial variables allowed me to let go of things that were only going to act as an albatross around my neck. Not only Voldemort, but the material goods of our marriage as well.
Okay. How many years were you married?
10.
Do you have children?
No.
That makes it a lot easier.
It certainly does.
It still sucks. I know it still sucks, but my God, that's another weapon.
Yes.
In a nasty divorce, and it hurts, and again, kids are caught in the middle, and wow, 10 years. So you dated, you're married 10 years, you put up with 10 years. I mean, how did you manage to not get yourself sick if you weren't happy? And
I was sick.
Okay.
I was terribly sick. Oh my God. Towards the end, I was getting a migraine like 4, 5, 7 days a week. And I was so sick. I have rheumatoid arthritis. It's much better now, but it was really bad back then. And it was because he was terrorizing me. And having to move past that has been one of the most important steps on my healing journey. So unfortunately, a lot of us stay in marriages way too long because we think, well, if we just try a little harder, if we, perform a little better, if we ask a little nicer, we can get them to turn around. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, the only thing they care about is how you make them feel. And that's a bad position to be in.
Yeah. Look, I don't think people really realize how damaging stress can be to the human body. I mean, it takes a long time before it starts showing up on the outside about what's going on the inside, but enough of that day-to-day stress, and it's a killer. I mean, your body starts crying, things start happening to you that normally wouldn't happen because that stress, you're holding it all in like a pressure cooker. And I mean, I don't know, I always say, this is when you really hope you have friends or family sometimes gets burned out and they don't want to hear it, or they're worried to death about you, and you don't want to talk to them all the time because you're just making them worse than, but you need to let it out and you need to talk about that. And I hope that people have connections and somebody to lean on, somebody that let you spew. Did you?
Yeah. I did. I did a lot of my healing after the divorce was over, actually, though, because it was so chaotic when I was in the middle of it. I started to actually go to a divorce support group, and that was really helpful because really friends don't know what a divorce is like unless they've gone through it. And sometimes they only see the best version of your partner. So it can be very hard for them to wrap their head around the fact that, the seemingly perfect Mr. Prince Charming is beating the snot out of you behind closed doors because he is the life of the party and everybody loves him when he's out and socializing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And again, when you guys decided to get divorced, did you hit him with the divorce, or did you both say, well, screw you, let's just get divorced?
Oh no, I was the one and that said this needs to happen. And at the end, he said, I can't believe that you actually went through it. I mean, and I turned to him and I said, I can't believe you actually thought I would stay after everything you did to me.
Yeah. Well, no, because to him, he's still got control. I have somebody in my circle that does relatively well, and was married to somebody similar to in your situation, and they weren't even married, tell you about, but he will not let go. They have a child together. He will not let go of, and he milks it, and he's very proficient in the court systems, and continually it's been going on for years, and she is spending ungodly amounts of money, all because they have a child involved. Otherwise she could have cut him loose, and he's maybe a smart narcissist, or however you want to do it, but he's got his act together and people believe what he's got to say, and he's just running her through the ringer for years, and it's going to end up that until that child really gets to be 18, which is still several more years away, there's no end in sight.
Yeah.
So,
well, unfortunately, there's just some people that are that high conflict that you really cannot do anything other than wait them out and learn how there's a technique called the gray rock. And it is challenging when you have a child involved, but the gray rock technique essentially cuts off their narcissistic supply by you becoming completely inert and non-reactive. This is something I perfected when I was dealing with Voldemort, because he would come home from the bar and instead of having a normal conversation, he would start to scream and yell. And I noticed when I screamed and yelled back, it escalated the situation. But if I kept my nose in a book and just said, oh, how interesting, and continued to read, he might snatch the book away, but I would just repeat, oh, how interesting. Oh, wow. Sounds like you had a big day. Anything, just give him a nice little pat on the head and continue to live your life. It's very hard, right? But truly nothing gives you as much vindication as when you break them. And the only way to break them is to cut off the supply by not reacting to them. And so it is so hard to do. But when you start to actually feel it occurring, where they will escalate their tactics, but after you hold true, you continue to gray rock them, well, then they'll look for someone else. They need their hit. Narcissists are essentially emotional drug addicts, and they are thriving off of your emotional intelligence. So when you pull that back and use that for yourself instead of offering them solutions, oh, there is nothing more painful, and you cut them very deep. But they will never let you see it, right? But you win when they go, when you become inactive.
I think it's a natural reaction to bark the minute you get poked. And that's a hard thing, but they thrive on that. I mean, the argument, it took me probably halfway through my divorce to finally realize, just let them talk.
Oh, yeah. Well, and they'll throw all of these things. It's kind of a combination of shotgunning and word salad, right? Where they want an emotional response. So they're going to throw every single thing that you did wrong in your face. And you can just say, oh, you're right. I did do something wrong. Thank you for pointing that out. The more you can learn to just say, you're right. Thank you. oh my God, it blows their mind.
Yeah, because they're looking for an argument. It gives them more energy, and when
Yeah.
they've got nothing to yell back at you after you yell at them again, it's kind of hard to keep the fight going.
Well, you have to keep in mind, a narcissist does not understand the difference between negative and positive attention. Any attention feeds their supply. They're drug addicts, right? They're emotional drug addicts. So going back to that, any type of reaction is going to give them a great high. So you cut them off at their knees and learn to just say, as I said earlier, thank you, and move on with your life to the degree that you can.
But what makes somebody a narcissist? I mean, do they choose to be, or is it just natural, hereditary? My daughter seems to think that narcissism is hereditary. I mean,
I don't think it's hereditary. I think that I think that family systems can create that type of personality type, especially if someone, when they're in their fundamental ages, let's say like right around 2, if something happens and they get stuck in that mindset, while they might have the body of an adult, they have the psychology of a small child. I mean, we've had many different public figures of recent mind. A few come to mind, but someone that is incredibly emotionally fragile had something happen to them when they were younger. And I really don't think it's completely hereditary. Keep in mind, I'm not a psychologist. I just deal with a lot of narcissists in my line of work. And I always have noticed that there's some type of trauma. Maybe their parents had a divorce, and they didn't get their needs met. And so they learned those narcissistic tendencies that work when you're a toddler to get your needs met. Well, those worked when they're a little older. And because those social skills worked, they continue to build those. So I'm sure it's probably a little bit of everything. I think you probably have to have that behavior modeled to you a little bit. Most people just don't decide to use other people as supply.
I've just seen. I was speaking with somebody, and he was saying, you know, my mother was a narcissist, you know, and but at times when I'm talking to this person or watching from afar or whatever, I'm going, you're kind of a narcissist too, and I don't even think you know it.
Well, and it's kind of common. You know, I think that saying goes, if you lay with the dogs, you get fleas or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But you get narcissistic tendencies, and you can learn to control those and learn, you know, with good therapists that you can, you know, remake the parts of yourself you don't care for.
You're just picking up bad habits.
Exactly. It's kind of like
real bad.
Next level smoking, right? So, you know, secondhand smoking used to be all the rage. Well, not all the rage, but people would get secondhand smoking when they would go into a restaurant. Nowadays, if you're around narcissists long enough, you have to learn how to protect yourself. And so you develop that armor. And then when you're done dealing with the narcissist, you need to move on and shed that skin. And the best way to do that is through self-awareness and a good therapist, in my opinion. Everybody has their own cup of tea and how they, you know, want to conduct their own self journey. But that's what I've done, and I have found really good luck with that.
Correct. And no disrespect to psychologists and psychiatrists and therapists, but I find that there's good and bad in that department too. And you could only hope that, because I've known some that are more screwed up than their patients. That's the God's honest truth. I knew them personally. Yeah. Going, you're getting $150 or $200 an hour, and you are so messed up, and you're telling people what to do, you know. So you have to choose. You don't know what you're walking into because you figure, okay, they're certified. Let me tell you, I'm not a mechanic, but I know how to do many things on an automobile or a motorcycle, or I'm just kind of handy. Now, I don't consider myself a professional, but I do have experience, you know, and I think I know how to handle something. I know when I can do it, and I know when I can't. And so sometimes you said you're not, you know, a therapist or anything like that, but if you handle it enough, I'm not telling people what to do, but I can pretty much figure out the common sense part of the whole thing, especially now since I've gone the gamut and really paying attention to this. You know, wisdom comes with age, hopefully, for most. You hope that somebody will listen and take the advice, as opposed to just putting their head in the sand and going, you know what, I can fix this. So, I mean, you need to hear from other people. And then when I need to fix something on YouTube, I mean, for myself, I go to YouTube first.
Yep.
Now, but the thing is, I watch many different videos of the same thing because everybody's got a little twist to it. It's almost like baking or cooking. They got a different recipe. And I found some people, like this guy showing how to do something, it was the hard way. Because I ended up going and looking up, I go, all you got to do is go right underneath the car instead of taking off all the pieces on the top. It was right there. And so you have to don't just grab the first piece of advice, get a bunch of different advice. So
Absolutely.
okay.
YouTube is a great resource and it's free. I mean, a lot of people don't have the time to go into a therapist every week and to talk about their problems, but they do have an hour on their commute where they could pop in a narcissist expert on YouTube and learn how to perfect the gray rock technique. And, you know, this is something you have to just invest in yourself with.
Yeah, well, I wish YouTube would cut me some slack because it is a great resource and I'd like to be part of that resource, but they keep on getting pissed off when I talk about a few things that, in my opinion, are true, but they just don't want it to be known, and then they just punish me. And there goes a lot of great resourcing, just as yourself. But we're working on it. We're working on it. Wow.
Well, it's hard to be a disruptor because sometimes you're the first one out there and you're sticking your neck out. So good for you. Got to speak the truth, no matter how hard it is.
Thank you. I will tell my creditors that. They go, why aren't you paying your bills? I go, well, I'm really good, but you know, these people they like sticking my neck out and they're punishing me, so they're not letting me be more, have a broader audience because they want to show me who's boss. But all good. I mean, again, I do believe in doing what you believe in, and that's a fact. Being silent and then complaining about things gets you nowhere. And here I am, hence Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show. We're starting to quickly run out of time, just so you know. I told you how quick it was going to go. Is there any really important things that you want to specify about, what you do? I mean, here's what I want to do real quick. I want to show people how they can find you, how they can get a hold of you, learn more about you, and even speak with you if they need to speak to you. So
I do. I offer everyone a 30-minute complimentary consultation. I think it's really important for you to get your divorce started off on the right foot, because if you do that, you're able to really focus on your next chapter instead of getting bogged down in the mire, which is very easy to do. I mean, we could have a full series about divorces gone wrong. And if they would have just started with mediation instead of going to litigation, they would have, saved them a lot of money. But I'm more than happy to lend you my ear and a little advice. So please go to my website, divorceanalytics.com, and hit the book consultation now and connect with me that way.
I'll be connecting with you in the morning. Now you seem you've thrown a lot of what do you want to call it, key words out there that I haven't heard. Word salad. I mean, is this the hip lingo that I'm missing? Maybe.
Well, when you deal with a narcissist, it's crazy because they're almost like all the same. And they have these common techniques. The word salad is kind of like verbal diarrhea, right? They're going to throw everything they can at you. And it's really designed to get you off of your game and to take over the control of the situation and to increase their supply, right? Because when they're in control and your emotions are high, man, they're on top of the world. And one of their tools is the word salading. So that's where gray rocking comes in. There's a lot of tools you can do.
Again, just some new lingo to me. Not with and so let's so now you're divorced, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How long?
6 years.
Okay, so I mean, you look really young. I don't know. I thought you got married at 14 or something like that.
I use sunscreen and a little bit of Botox here and there. So.
Yeah, well, okay. But the thing is, so now after 6 years, because I know I had friends that would say, Peter, I know this is awful, but it's going to get better in time. But it's a matter of how much time? So now that you're divorced, how's that working? Do you never see him again? Is it completely gone, or are you still having to be in communication and better?
Well, I choose to not communicate because I feel like I've said everything I need to say to him, and no matter what Voldemort tries to do, I know who he is underneath it all. And I don't need to be friends with a snake, right? If I wanted that, I could probably find one that wouldn't be venomous.
No, I get it, but I've seen some people that, like, after the divorce, they've managed to remain cordial. Well, if they got kids, and I envy that because it really needs to be that way. But then I've seen some people in a situation where there are no kids and they got married and they got divorced, and that person never ever saw that person again and never heard from, doesn't care where they're at. They could be deceased for all they know, and they would never know because they don't talk to them or communicate because it's all separate and we're done.
Yeah, well, I think in some situations, a clean break is the best break. I had high levels of abuse in my relationship, and I was not entertaining continuing a relationship with him in any capacity after we were completely done.
Okay.
So you have to do what's right for you.
Right. I just wanted to kind of put an end to the, your personal story, which I do thank you for opening up and talking about your own personal stuff, because I do believe if you have to lead by example. I've done it.
Absolutely.
I still do it. I'm not proud of it. I'm not ashamed of it. It's just life. But speaking of life, anybody wants to get a hold of Victoria at Divorce Analytics, just go to www.divorceanalytics, and she'll even offer you a free consultation if you need her help and advice. And she seems pretty smart, guys. So, I mean, from the educational point of view, so, not just the common sense stuff. So, Victoria, is there anything that you can leave, that you want to leave a piece of, I don't even want to say advice, but just some common sense or what you do, or what, anything of worth to close out your segment here, to my audience, to leave them with something going,
Okay, so I'm going to put on my wealth engineer hat and talk about budgeting for a minute. Your budget is literally the most important divorce tool you have, because you need to figure out what your pre-divorce budget is, and then the line items that are going to change after your divorce is over. So that looks like your house, your healthcare, groceries, and your children's expenses. If you're able to understand how your finances will change, you will be able to create a softer landing so you can have a quicker road to rehabilitation and be living the lifestyle that you were pre-divorce. So there's always going to be a transition period, but when you know your financial facts, man, it makes you so much more exacting in the solution you're able to create.
Bravo.
So I know it's not fun advice, but
no, it's not. But the thing is, money, you have to have money. And a lot of people, you're so in the battle that you oblivious of everything until the war is over, and then the smoke clears and there's a huge body count and a lot of collateral damage, and you're in debt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Listen, I love you for taking the time out and being on this show. I really do. And more than anything, you were following me for quite a long time, way before I even got to you to finally, to address this. And thank you for following the show. But I am personally in front of all my viewers thanking you for being a follower and paying attention and watching the Peter G Show as we've been growing. And now you've contributed to the show, and your show and all these clips and everything will live on in infancy to give, help and hopefully a little bit of common sense to the many, I hope.
I thank you so much. And I have to say, I love the podcasts that get banned on YouTube. Somebody needs to be out there, sharing truth. So
yes, well,
I admire you for what you do.
My name is Peter. It just depends on the guests I have. And, I'm trying. And now I've learned, I just turn off when I'm going to do something that I feel that I need to have this person on that's willing to come on and talk things that most people don't want to, stick their necks out for. I'll just turn that channel off and risk the rest. We'll see what happens. But anyway, okay, last chance. There it is right there. You can contact Victoria at www.divorceanalytics.com. She'll talk to you, learn more about her, and maybe she can, help you or somebody that you know. And that's very, very important. So wave goodbye to everybody, and I'm going to let you go, and we'll talk in the morning or something. I'll give you a call, and we'll just catch up from this. I have to close out the show.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You got a deal. All right, there she is, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, in the flesh. Hey, and don't go outside. It's windy out, okay? I don't. You don't want to mess that hair up. You know,
I don't want to mess the hair up. It's kind of chilly too.
It's chilly too, but I don't have to worry about that. But you got a lot of hair. All right, thank you. I love you. See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Uno momento. Smooth. Ah. There you have it, folks. Victoriakirilloff from Divorce Analytics giving you a bunch of good information. I hope you'll take this information and use it wisely. Keep it in your head. You may not need this stuff, but I guarantee you got people that do. And you know what? If it wasn't for referrals and people going, I mean, if your car breaks down, you go, hey, I know a guy that can do blah, 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 blah. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, it may not suit your need, but the fact that you're watching this, keep it in your head and go, you know, I saw this on the Peter G show. And it's like, write to me. Tell me. Say, Peter, I remember you did a show about something. I'll answer you, or somebody will answer you. This is what it's all about. Do you understand? It's all about helping. This is my way of like giving back. I said, what am I going to do with my life? I love entertainment, but I want to give back in a certain way too. And with people like Victoria who contribute and give their time and talk about these things, it's the gift that keeps on giving. All right. So right there, www.divorceanalytics. And I thank her again for doing, coming on the show and sharing her expertise and knowledge. And I just, I dropped. Okay. Thought I dropped something. Didn't want to drop my microphone. But anyway, that's where that's at. Okay, it's been a great show. We're running out of time again, but I do want to remind you before we leave, next week, Thanksgiving Eve, Wednesday, November 23rd, time when family comes around. It's supposed to be good. It's supposed to be happy. But it's not always happy for a lot of people. Hence why we had this show. A lot of people going through first-time divorces, separations from their kids, loved ones pass away. It's a holiday and somebody's not there. I've lived it all. You're going to want to watch this show. I'm going to have Jason on the show. Jason's just an average guy from an average town going through some of this mess. And I've watched him twirl. I've watched him one day, he's happy posting on Facebook. The next day, he's deep diving. We're going to talk to him about it, especially now that it's right before Thanksgiving. Some people don't have family and friends to lean on. Some people do have them and they avoid. They go, oh my God, I don't want to hear this crap again. They get sick of it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk to him. You know, life's a bitch. It's not always bowl of cherries. It's not always honky-dory. And he's going to be on this show Thanksgiving Eve, Wednesday, November 23rd. I want you to be here and listen to what your average person is going through, or a lot of people, in times like this. Divorces, separations, deaths, all of the above. All right. So I don't want you to miss it. It's part of my Getting Through the Holidays series. So I'm proud to be doing this. I think that it's a service to someone. And if it helps one person, and even if you're watching this show and you know somebody needs to see this show, tell them to subscribe to YouTube and watch this show. It's free. How about it's better than that? You know, usually not everything is free in life, but this is free. I love what we do here. So you're not going to want to miss it. The podcast, just a reminder again, if you can't watch the show, and I love those of you who watch the show, go to Peter G. I'll get it right one of these days. Just Google Peter G Show podcast. It'll take you to all the different many sites. You'd think I'd be good at this by now, you know, because I talk about it every week. But even still, the old brain to the tongue. I'm sure Victoria's got a word for that by the time it gets gets in translation. But she'll tell me tomorrow when I speak with her. But either way, just Google it, Peter G Show podcast, and pick one. iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, whatever. And you can take the show on the road with you. Just put an earbud in your ear while you're at work. You know, it's worth it. People love podcasts. I love visual. I'm that kind of guy. But a lot of people love the podcast. So we have the podcast too, which are doing very well. But I still want you to please go to YouTube and subscribe for free for the whole shebango, the visual, the show. Just help me build that whole little platform a little bit more, so that way I can get YouTube to open up the floodgates so we can reach more people, because they are definitely squeezing me. If you can't like something if you don't know it exists. Even those of you that are on Facebook, please just go over there. It's not going to hurt anything. It takes you a couple of seconds, or even click on the little red YouTube thing. That's all I ask for me for the holidays. All right. A little bit of one hand washes the other. I can do better things when I have more of you. All right. My father told me that, and I never forget it now. And God bless his soul. I mean, I take that with me, and I stick by it because it has a lot of meaning. You can't wash. It's hard to wash your hand with one hand. But if you got two people, two hands, nice and clean. Thank you all for watching. I'll leave you with this. As always, I want you to be kind. You don't have to take a lot of crap from people, but you don't have to be a pushover and be an ass about it. Just take a deep breath before you speak. Something I'm always saying, I am learning daily, especially over these past few years. Life is short. It's the holidays. It's a time when we're supposed to be loving more than ever, but it's not easy for some, and some don't have the opportunity. Look around you. Smile at people. It's important. People need to be loved. Love is the key. That's going on my Christmas cards this year. True story. That's a true story. Love is the key. It's a true story. Don't laugh. Oh my God. I'm going to bring you back on and watch. So everybody can see you're laughing at me. Why are you laughing at me? Anyway, I love you guys. As always, I will see you next week. Hope I didn't forget anything. No. I will see you next week, like clockwork, every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. on the East Coast, God willing. So, my name is Peter G. You're watching Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show right here. And as always, I love you guys. Peace out.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorce dad, single dad, divorce dad, single dad, Peter G Show.